Alright, we're back, and I should have had a little bit of time to soften up with the plastic glue. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take that disc. Our hole's a little bit too small, so what we're going to do is take the sharp hobby knife, or your utility knife, and just very carefully cut around, make that hole bigger. If you're under the age of 16, you probably are going to want to have some sort of adult supervision, just for liability purposes. Okay, so now that's a little bit wider. Go ahead and reapply the glue, soften those edges again. It's almost going in there. A little bit more. Never ever cut towards yourself. I like to break my own rules sometimes, so. And there we go. It should pop in really snug. You want to get pretty flush with the exterior of the cruiser there. If you have a little bit of an indentation on the other side where the magnet is, that's perfectly okay. You just want it to be flush as much as possible with one side, without snapping your cruiser there. Let me turn down my music. Alright. So that's what you're going to want to do for that. You're going to want to do the same on the other side. So we drill our pilot hole first. That's where the second bay is going to go in. So I'm through this first side. And I'm through the second side. Now, one problem you may find is that on the other side, it may come through looking not quite circular. So to fix that problem, you have to come in from the other side and kind of do another hole on the other side. Or you can just use your hobby knife, whichever you prefer. I like to get my hole as perfectly round as possible with the drill bit first before attacking it with a hobby knife. Okay, so we got our hole. Let's widen it a little bit with the utility knife, since we've already deemed that that's necessary from the last time. It all depends on the size of the magnets you're using, too. I use a 3/16 of an inch drill bit. If you're using a different size magnet, it's probably going to take a different type of drill bit. Just throw that glue on there to soften the side. And we'll let that sit for a second. Now what I'm going to talk about are the weapon bays. Now you may be wondering how we're going to get this weapon bay to stick onto the side. Well, what we're going to have to do, you can either use your utility knife, or I've been using, since the tip of my needle file broke off, it's a little bit jagged at the end. So what you're going to want to do is take this weapon bay. You're going to want to take it and you're going to want to scratch a furrow down the length of it on the inside of it. Let me scratch that out real quick. Show you what I'm talking about. You don't need it to be especially deep, you just need it to be fairly straight. Okay, So you scratch out a furrow on the inside of it there. And what you're going to do is you're going to take one of your staples. Now you can either use a wire cutter, or I just like to use a pair of pliers and twist the end of the staple off. So you either twist or you cut it off. Until you're left with just the shaft. I'm taking a little bit of plastic glue, put that in the furrow, and you put the staple in that furrow. Now the plastic glue soften it and keep it in there a little bit, but it's not going to be real secure. So what you're going to want to do is once that is dry, you're going to want to go over it with the super glue. So you wait for that to dry. Now this should be pretty good and softened up. So we're going to take our second magnet, pop that right in there. Yep, it goes right in there. Slick as a whistle. So we got on each side our magnets. So once we have the magnets in, we can go ahead and start assembling the rest of it. First thing up you're going to want to put on is the rear wing. So get some plastic glue on the side there, especially on the top, on the underside there, around to like that. And it's going to slide on real easy for the most part until you hear a little pop or click. And you should have that little nub sticking out the back like that. Bring the light over so you can see that. So you got the little nub sticking out the back there. That's where the engine mount is going to go. So put your plastic glue around that stub, on the side a little bit there. And you'll notice that on the engine mount, some of the engines themselves are taller than the rest. Those are going to go horizontally across the back. They'll fit right over that stub. It's a little nice and snug. Okay. Next up, you're going to want to do the command module, the bridge. So you'll see there's a little flat area on the top. So get that glued down. You're going to see a little notch in the bottom of the command module. So just line them up, press it down, make sure it's fairly level with the rest of the model. Okay, now you're going to want to set this out of the way to dry. I just like to stick it back on a stand so that it's nice and level. You're going to let that dry. So while you're doing that, you can work back on the macro cannon bays. Get those ready to be magnetized. Macro cannons, lamp batteries. There's also launch bays, but we'll go into more depth on the launch bays because they require a little bit more work to make magnetizing ready.